It's back. As a reminder, this is my 2001 EuroVan that I bought a couple of weeks ago on a whim, and I knew absolutely nothing about it. But I knew it was special. This van spent the first 15 years of its life with its original owner, and it's traveled less than 44,000 miles. But despite that low mileage, it wasn't exactly what you'd call perfect. The check engine light was on for a couple of failed sensors, and the AC was completely broken, which is less than ideal in a vehicle that only has 2 windows that roll down. It also had its original factory tires, which is equal parts amazing and terrifying. But after a week in the shop, my EuroVan has a clean bill of health, which means it's time to give it a proper road test. I want this to be a thorough road test, so let's start at the very beginning, getting in. Now, with a roofline this high and a floor this low, you'd think the act of getting behind the steering wheel in the EuroVan would be a cinch, but it isn't. And that's because of the van's engine. You see, this has a V6, which is quite large, and the engine compartment is quite small. So there really wasn't any room for anything else under there besides the engine. VW's solution to this was to put a lot of the oily bits under the front seat area, which meant raising the floor by a few inches. And just for good measure, VW decided to use these ridiculously high seat mounts. So instead of getting into the EuroVan like a normal vehicle, you have to climb up because of this raised floor, and then you have to duck your head so you don't gog it, even though this is currently the 4th tallest object in the tri-state area. There are a couple of other ergonomic missteps in the interior of the EuroVan we should cover before setting off. The first being the ignition keyhole. It's located here on the dash, which isn't all that unusual, but it's hidden behind the wheel and kind of at a strange angle. So every time I go to start the car, I have to kind of look around to see where the key goes. Once the engine is started, I like to do some light stretching before I take off the parking brake and put it into gear. And that's so I don't pull something when I have to reach all the way down here to disengage the parking brake, and then move it from P to D. And we're off. So here I am behind the wheel of the EuroVan for the first time, and my initial impression is the seating position is just ridiculous in this. I have no place to put my left foot because there's a wheel there. I can't adjust the seat very much because there's another seat directly behind it blocking me. And since I'm sitting so high up, the steering wheel feels like it's a mile away, and then the gauges are even farther, so I need binoculars just to see them. But I don't need any eyewear to see anything else because the EuroVan is designed like the viewing deck of a skyscraper. If all vehicles were designed like this, no one would have ever bothered to invent blind spot monitoring. Earlier versions of the EuroVan came with a 5-cylinder gas engine rated at about 110 horsepower, but this is a later model, so it is the hot rod 2.8-liter V6 with 201 horsepower, so performance is quite brisk. Now wait, that's not the word I meant, was it? Oh, leisurely, yes, that's what I meant. This struggles to get out of its own way, and this dim-witted 4-speed automatic doesn't help things. You could measure time between shifts with a calendar. I honestly can't fathom this with 100 fewer horsepower. I'd have to change my underpants after every highway on-ramp. The ride quality is firmer than I was expecting. I kind of thought this would just be floaty and comfortable, but it actually feels quite planted and European, almost like it was a EuroVan. This is certainly better to drive than any other US minivan from 2001. And even though this thing is 3 stories tall, it really doesn't lean on its door handles through corners. You do get body roll, obviously, but it never feels like it's just gonna flip over. Other than the ridiculous seating position and the woeful acceleration, EuroVan's actually quite nice to drive. So there it is, the first road test of my 2001 Volkswagen EuroVan, a big, slow box that's surprisingly nice to drive. Now that I've got this old girl in fighting shape, I've got some interesting things planned for her in the coming weeks. So if you want to keep up on my EuroVan adventures, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you got any ideas of your own, be sure to leave a comment below. And with that, we'll see you next time. Dare not pull out in front of traffic. Got about a 100-yard gap there, but that's too close with this thing.